Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Steve Bowden, and this is our inaugural episode of Blood Sport Commando. This is where we basically talk about action movies and martial arts in general. Steve and I are old Taekwondo buddies. You've probably heard him on the podcast at various times. I think he was here for were you here for the Karate Kid discussion that we had, or?
No, I missed that one, but I wanted to be there.
Okay, but you've been here on some of the wuxia stuff, and you've obviously been here on some of the Bedrock Games things and things like that. And but we go way back with Taekwondo from way back in like the early 2000s, and we have a shared interest in action movies and a fondness for films like the Karate Kid. But when we did the Karate Kid, I guess I made a point about the tournament, and Steve took issue with some of the points I made. So I want to give you the floor to sort of give you, we both rewatched the tournament scene. I think, Steve, you watched the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, but I paid particular attention to the tournament scene, yeah.
And so we're just going to basically be reviewing the tournament scene and re-examining some of the points I made about it. So why don't you just say what was on your mind?
Okay, yeah. So originally, the centerpiece of our disagreement was kind of how you felt Daniel was kind of like a fluke. You know what I mean? Like, really, he didn't have much business winning, and probably if they fight a bunch of times, he'd probably lose. Whereas I felt like it was more of a stylistic thing where he was really focusing on balance and kind of being like more of a slick fighter. Like, he obviously doesn't have the power of like a Johnny Lawrence or like the athleticism of him.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good counter because he's like able to stay balanced and kind of like just dodge and get in these little like pot shots and stuff. I thought that was a good foil for like Johnny, whereas all the other fighters in the tournament, if you look, they all had like power styles. Yeah. And I think that's why he was able to like outpower all the other fighters that were trying to do like power things, whereas Daniel was, because he was using his balance and those kind of things, he was able to counter Johnny's style.
Well, and it's funny because I think what I actually said was something along the lines of if this tournament were held 100 times, like, this is the one time Daniel would win, and all the other times Daniel would have lost. And so I was surprised when you took issue because I assumed you would have felt the same way because I know the way you think about these things. And Danny's he's like a wimp, you know what I mean? He's physically very weak. He doesn't even have correct posture for like a person who is involved in this kind of activity. And so just like comparing him physically to all the people fighting. Like, Johnny Lawrence is bouncing around and looks like he can bench press, or maybe not bench press, but he looks like he can, he's athletic, like you were saying, and Daniel just is not. But based on what you said, I rewatched the tournament, and it did revise my opinion, because you made that point about him being a counter fighter, and back when we did Taekwondo, I was always a counter fighter, so I started looking at it from that perspective, and I think that's really where he was able to win the tournament. Also I noticed they were doing a lot of tricks with the point system, like in order to add like a greater sense of suspense and anticipation of is Danny gonna win? They had him back out of the ring repeatedly, and I guess in my memory I just interpreted those moments when he backed out of the ring as him losing a point or as him getting kicked or something. You know what I mean? Like, it just sort of read it in hindsight differently. But I do have to agree with you that now that I've reevaluated it, I think you're right. He was clearly fighting as a counter fighter. I think when he first walked in, like when that long shot walk in, and then he just goes to the first match and he gets like kicked really hard and backs out. That one really sort of set the tone for me, I think, and that's what kind of made me feel like he was losing every match, even when he wasn't, because he just like right out of the gate, he just didn't look like a real karate guy, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because obviously like I'd be much more likely to be one of the Cobra Kai guys,
yeah.
And like Daniel, like, counter fighting is just not kind of how I think, but I kind of could appreciate his coordination. And I was going to say, too, even earlier, when he was doing the stuff like the soccer ball and stuff, like, he clearly had, like, good coordination.
Yep.
So I think it suited him well because he could, like, time things well and just have, like, good balance and all that kind of stuff.
No, and also his stance kind of threw me off because he had a really weird stance, which maybe is just it didn't age well. Do you know what I mean? But, like, it just looked really strange to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you're right. Now, I will say this, though. in the fight, I know one of the points we were arguing about was the last fight with Johnny Lawrence and how, I still feel this way. There are two moments where he could have won the match and he didn't because he was punishing Daniel, and so and there's one moment, and I'm not again. Steve and I did Taekwondo. We've done other martial arts, but I don't think either of us have done point karate, so we're not familiar with point karate rules, and we're especially not familiar with point karate rules from the early 80s when this film was made. But at one point, Johnny Lawrence punches Daniel in the face, and I guess it was like excessive contact the way he did it, so he didn't get a point for that because they were 2-2, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to punch in the face.
Is that it? Okay.
I believe so. I don't see anybody else getting punched in the face. It seems like they would be open for a...
There was another... No, I could have sworn somebody else gets punched in the face during that, but I don't know if the person got the point.
Yeah, I don't recall anybody else getting punched in the face like that. Like, because I feel like if you could, that would be like the dominant strategy. Like, you just get close and you just...
I feel like in Taekwondo, I think we weren't allowed to punch in the face either. We could punch to the chest and we could kick to the... You could kick in the face and kick to the head.
Right.
But I feel like you should be able to punch to the face in a tournament like this. But,
yeah, maybe, but then it kind of makes obsolete like kicking. Like, why would you ever try to kick someone in the head? You know, like unless you.
In Taekwondo, I understand because I understand like the whole point was to sort of prioritize kicking as the style, and
right.
it forced you to, and again, one of the things that I think people don't often understand about Taekwondo is it's weird because you can't punch people in the head, but you can back kick them, which can like really hurt somebody badly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like point karate, where point karate is you like in the Karate Kid, when you get the point, you go back to your corner and you start over again. In Taekwondo, it's more like boxing. You just keep hitting until you win the match, basically.
Right. Getting kicked in the face is no joke. It's worse than getting punched.
But just from like experience with other styles, I think you're right. If you're allowed to punch in the face, it would just be like boxing, basically. You just kind of, people would just be constantly doing that, and it would be it would look like a different sport.
Right.
But
I was going to say, do you remember? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you remember too? There was another something that also reinforces the no punching to the face thing. Do you remember there's like a part where like Daniel does something, and like I don't know, him and Johnny kind of end up in like a closed stance, which is like. From like Taekwondo, we call it closed stance. It's like my chest is facing one way and your chest is facing like the other way, and
you close together, you're pressed together when that's happening.
Yeah,
usually.
and he kind of like, I think he like throws Daniel to the ground. But like obviously, if you could punch in the face in that position, you would just punch the guy in the face. You know what I mean? There'd be no need to throw him to the ground to try to do it. Like he tries to throw him to the ground and then like kick him.
I was really curious about the rules because there's one moment where Daniel throws Johnny on the ground or trips him, and then he back fists the back of his head into the mat, and it's the point where Johnny gets the nosebleed. And I mean that's like way worse than getting punched in the face.
Yeah,
that's like almost curb stomping somebody, you know?
Well, that's one thing I was going to bring up too. That I like, disagree with the part where like Johnny could have won because I felt like if he didn't kind of like cheat and like kind of give him cheap shots to the legs there, like to his injured leg, Daniel had all the momentum before they had to like take that break when he hit him. You know? No,
but to resume my point, the point was though they were 2-2, and Johnny Lawrence punches him in the face. He could have easily just punched him in the chest or punched him in the head or whatever the viable target was, for getting a point was. Mm-hmm. But he just decided to punch as hard as he could and hurt Daniel. Do you know what I mean? So it was like it felt to me like he was toying with him. And then he does the sweep. Then he sweeps the leg. You know what I mean? Which he had to do because he was instructed to do so. But I feel like if you can sweep the leg, you could probably get a point, right? Like,
well, I also felt like he was kind of getting frustrated. So I'm wondering how much of that was like, playing into Daniel's hands too, where it was like maybe he could, but he also couldn't because Daniel was kind of like using the like art of the void. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like not presenting a good target. So I think Johnny was getting kind of frustrated with like
that's plausible. I still think Johnny could have definitely landed a point when they were 2-2.
Okay, but let me ask you this: you think if he hadn't like decided to like, sweep the leg or whatever, do you think Daniel could have just carried the momentum from those other 2 points he had and like hit him again? Like, if there wasn't that pause where he had to go see his sensei and stuff, do you think on the next encounter, like, do you think Daniel could have just, like, hit him with another one of those counters?
I think he had a much better shot than I originally was saying, and I think that they demonstrated a number of times that he was clearly using he had one specific counter that he used a lot, where he would sort of sidestep and kick to the belly, and he had another one where I think he would sidestep and sort of hit somebody in the back or something like that.
Yeah, like a chop thing.
Yeah, some kind of I don't know what the technique was, but yeah. So I think he had a chance. I definitely think he could have done it. And also I do want to apologize for the sound quality here. I don't have my normal mic with me, so there's a little bit of background noise, and I think I'm getting some echo on Steve's end. But next time around we'll have the normal mic. But yeah, I think he had a shot. I just feel like Johnny threw the match away. Do you know what I mean? By the excess of contact and following his sensei's command to sweep the leg.
Yeah, see, I think he may have, but I felt like Danny created that situation. And also he had like an injured leg, so like I kind of feel like the athleticism of his counters would have been even better.
Okay, all right, okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think within the context of the movie they made and the characters they had, you're right. Like, this is the only way to get a character like Daniel to plausibly win a tournament like this.
Right.
But I think the movie actually does sort of, it undercuts that by really making him look like a wuss in a number of key tournament scenes where he's backing out of the ring, and it's just like it creates the overall impression that he was losing the whole time to me. And it wasn't until you pointed out, no, he's countering, he's fighting in a balanced way, and I was really paying attention that I, and you can keep on this movie I've seen a bunch of times, so it's not like, it's not like this is a scene that I watched once and misunderstood it. I think a lot of people come away with that impression from these scenes.
Yeah, no, I agree. It kind of reminds me of like the Ali fight,
Which Ali fight?
When Ali fought, what's it, the Rumble in the Jungle? What was
Foreman,
it?
The Foreman fight.
Yeah, Foreman. Yeah, because you and I watched that fight and it was interesting. Like, and I'd like to watch it again actually to see if I still have that same opinion or if I have revised it at all. But when you and I watched it, I remember we both felt like it didn't look like Foreman was winning, but you always hear like Foreman was winning the whole time, and then like Ali kind of just rope-a-doped him and won. Where I felt like the whole time Ali was like, Foreman wasn't able to land cleanly, and Ali was kind of like using his jab and like working him and stuff, and then he finally just, was able to bring him down.
Yeah, and also I think you see it like in the movie Ali. I think they kind of that's sort of the narrative that they use, if I remember, is the fights presented in that way, and also that's the normal accounts from like George Foreman and from a number of other people. And I think it's one of these things where it's kind of like that's sort of the memory people have of the fight, but then when you go back and you actually watch it definitely is different. So, and I think it's exactly like you're saying here, like they created an overall impression, and that's what I was sort of basing my recollection of it on.
I'd like to see if they fought again, because my working theory is if they fought again, Daniel would win again.
Okay, I mean, I think he had a much fairer chance than I originally thought. Do you understand? I don't know that he would definitely win, but I think that he clearly is using tactics that work, and he clearly actually understands karate way more than I thought he did. Because I was looking at some of the stuff he was doing, there were some pretty intricate movements in there that he was using.
Yeah. That sweep move to Johnny was like a really cool, like actual tactical thing where he kind of like sweeps him and then hits him in the back of the head. It's like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that seems complicated to me. That doesn't seem like that's not something like if anybody's ever, sparred for the first time, like, because how many months did he train for this tournament? It wasn't that long, right?
No, yeah, it wasn't that long. I don't remember the exact amount of time. I think it was like 3 months or something.
But it was like a really short period of time to be considered a black. Like the black belt level of competition is so much higher than like the color belt level of competition.
Yeah.
And it normally takes people years to get up, at least 3 years, like minimum, to get to a black belt level.
Right.
And so 3 months or 6 months, however long it was, that's a very short period of time to get to the level he was at. And I think that I forgot what my point was here. I was going somewhere with this.
You were saying how he was like more advanced than you thought he would be.
Yeah. Like if you've ever sparred or anything, like it's really hard to do basic moves, like really basic things like moving around and just doing a roundhouse kick or whatever depending on whatever your style is. It might be a different assortment of kicks, but it's really difficult when you first go. Like my point is the first 3 months of training, you are horrible, and you're not landing anything, and you're unable. You're lucky to get yourself into position to kick cleanly or land a clean shot, let alone land a combo like he did in the So I think it's fair to say he was more skilled than I thought he was.
I thought it was interesting too in the new series, the one they had on like what is it, YouTube Red or whatever it was. I thought it was interesting where they had that kind of like encounter where they were like about to fight, and Johnny kind of like made a move, and Daniel kind of like just spun him quickly. Like I thought that was a cool like indication of like, okay, see, like, you know, you try to use your power, but he's gonna like reverse it. I just thought that was kind of a cool moment.
Yeah, no. I think. Well, number one, when is Cobra Kai season 2 coming on? Is that something that we've heard any news on yet?
I haven't, but I haven't really been looking into it either. But that'll be a cool thing to check out, and that'll be interesting if they do have them fight.
Yeah, I gotta say, one of the things that I know we did the Karate Kid not too long ago, but like I was really surprised at how good of a movie it was. So I definitely want to watch it again before the second season of Cobra Kai, because I don't think I watched it before the first season of Cobra Kai. I think I might have, maybe I did. I can't remember, and there's probably a record of me saying whether I did or not. But I have a feeling I might not have, or I only watched it once. But I'd like to watch it again before Cobra Kai 2 comes out. Another thing that I noticed too, that I mean I'm sure we commented on before, but the comedic timing of Mr. Miyagi in that scene. There's like one little moment where the guy asks him, like, he says you're only allowed to have like your trainer and the student, and Daniel creates the lie of, oh, he only speaks Japanese.
Right.
There's the whole thing where and so Mr. Miyagi's pretending that he can't speak English, and then the guy says thank you to him, and he says you're welcome, and he walks away. But,
yeah, I thought Pat Morita played a good part, and like, you know, it's a good movie. I do find that putt scene is like a bit brutal, where they're like having that whole romance part where they're like they're having the date and like it's like a montage.
Oh, well, that's typical 80s movie.
No, it is, but it was just like, I don't know, for some reason it just feels like particularly brutal. Like, I don't know, like I'm getting all ramped up for a tournament, and then it's like, I don't know, this love montage. It's
okay.
Just,
Yeah, I guess. So would you have been fine with a training montage? Would that have worked for you?
I always like training montages, so maybe that's just my own bias.
What's your favorite training montage?
I think Rocky has some really good ones. Like, I always find his are cool. Like, I'm trying to think. I really like the one from Rocky 4, actually, where he's like training up in like.
Yeah, no, that's the one I was gonna say.
Yeah. That's what I'm always like, man, I gotta like go out and work out or something,
I think Rocky 4 because number one, I was what year did that come out? That come out 85?
I'm not sure. Rocky 4 was it that early? 85?
I think it was. I think it was 85, maybe 86. Let me see. Because I was in I was in elementary school when that came out. And it was it was 85, and it was on HBO all the time, all the time. So I just watched it constantly. And, and I was a fan of the Rocky movies, and so but that montage is just like stuck in my head, and but I think it's a good montage. It's good because it's sort of like it encapsulates like what Rocky kind of became by that point in the series. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you could just basically sum up the whole movie in a montage, pretty much.
I also think the Blood Sport one was really cool.
Well, we're going to cover Blood Sport probably next week. I'm hoping.
Right. I thought that was a good lead-in. Yeah.
So we're gonna. So the idea of this show again is, we're calling it Blood Sport Commando because basically the first two movies I want to do are Blood Sport and Commando, and then from there. That's sort of that establishes the parameters of what the show is about, and then we'll get into some other topics. So save your thoughts on the Blood Sport montage for.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just mentioning it as a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I didn't mind the love montage. I thought that the love storyline, and again I'm going by memory because I just watched the tournament scene today, but the love stuff in Karate Kid I thought really rounded out the movie. And balanced it out because I think if you take out the alley storyline, it would deflate everything else. Like the whole feud with Johnny hinges on that storyline.
Yeah, I didn't mind it as much. Maybe it was something about the placement, or I don't know. Just like it dragged a bit.
Okay. Well,
at that point for me.
if you can make it on to the Cobra Kai 2 discussion, we'll have a chance to resume and reevaluate that and see if either of us can change the other person's mind about it. But which is unlikely. No, this is a rare occurrence. Don't get used to me and Steve being in a situation where one person convinces the other, because it's very rare. So, but yeah. So I think in this case though you convinced me. With the caveat that I still feel like Johnny threw away, the match just by kind of tormenting Danny a little too much, and and again, it was still really close though, because they were 2-2, and clearly Daniel could have gotten a point as well. So it wasn't like oh, it was all in Johnny's corner. But
and had a hurt leg.
Yeah, no, he had a hurt leg. That's so Mr. Miyagi used the the magic. So
the clap and rub the hands thing. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Another thing about this one though, this tournament is like the most professional looking high school karate tournament. They kind of got some, like, again, we in Taekwondo, it's a little different than karate, but it's basically a similar type of setup. I think I can't imagine that the amount of resources available to karate tournaments are all that much different. In fact, I would maybe think that Taekwondo, just knowing the way that it's operated, might have some more resources. But I feel like I don't know, like this was like a dimly, like the atmosphere was very dark, like it was very dimly lit, and the PA system was glorious, and the announcers sounded like professional announcers, and everything was just perfectly structured and went to plan. And
they filled the stadium too.
What was that?
They filled the stadium too, like the whole place was like packed with people wanting to see karate.
Yeah, because they kind of make fun of that in the show, because they're like, oh no, it was a really big thing back in the day in this particular location. So, but yeah, like at a real tournament, there's like, I mean, we went to, what was it called, the Zhongyin University one. What was the big one? That was a pretty big
Harvard, the invitational one. Yeah,
that was a pretty big one, and there was still like nobody in the stands, like
comparatively, yeah.
I mean, it was better than most of them, but like that, so like this was, but again, maybe it was the early '80s. I remember as a kid in the '80s, martial arts were a lot more popular, so maybe a tournament at that time would have had more people in the stands. But I still think this was a little bit more than you. I mean, it's better than like football. Do you know what I mean? Like so, and again, those announcers were just way too professional. You're not going to get announced like that at any tournament I've been to.
That would have been cool though, if we had. That would have been pretty neat.
I mean, if you go to like a thing where people are getting paid money, do you know what I mean? Like if it's like an MMA tournament or something, or some, like you'll see stuff like that, I think. But I just feel like at the, it's all volunteers at things like this. So,
yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it was such a big deal, in 1984 in Southern California that they had money to spend.
Maybe it's got a whole council governing it and everything else.
Well, they do have. I mean, we had a council. We had in Taekwondo. I was a delegate one time at the at one of the voting things they held. One of the elections. But it was like the way it was set up is, I think each of the masters of the different schools were part of, like, they each had a vote on this committee. This is how it worked. But that was just our organization. Like there were other Taekwondo organizations. But yeah, so that part I buy, because people like institutions, they like having bylaws. In fact, that was one of the things that came up when I was a delegate. There was a guy there who was like invoking every bylaw in the thing, and he was like the only non-Korean there, and and he was like this thorn in their side. That it was, I don't know, it was years ago, and I don't want to repeat things that are inaccurate, so I won't go into it more than that. But it was pretty amusing. But yeah, so I don't know. I think the idea of this show is we want to talk about these kind of movies, but we also kind of want to talk about martial arts and stuff like that sometimes. So if anybody has any thoughts or feedback, feel free to send it in. And as you can see, the we want like a laid back structure, much more laid back than the other programs that we do here. Mainly because me and Steve, we've known each other so long that I feel like we can probably manage, conversation without any kind of structure, and a structure would make it feel artificial.
Right.
So Bloodsport is going to be next. In fact, I might watch Bloodsport tonight if I can find it. Is that on streaming service, Bloodsport, right now?
I'm sure you can find it. I have it on DVD too if you ever need it. That's like my favorite movie. So
okay, yeah. If I have to, I'll get it on DVD. But I'm sure it's around somewhere. I'll probably watch it tonight. It's between that and Doctor Who. After I finish my writing,
it should definitely be Bloodsport.
And then we'll do Commando, and then I don't know. I'm thinking. I might want to do a nice middle ground. Might be Kickboxer with Van Damme, because that kind of gets back into some of the stuff with Bloodsport, but I'd also like to do some actiony stuff, and I think we should also do Best of the Best. I think
for sure.
Yeah, that's a.
I like anyone. I think it's a cool conversation to be able to like. I don't know if anyone else is interested in it, but I'm always like, it's interesting they were doing this, like, or this was, like they were doing this kind of thing stylistically when they fight. Because I always find it interesting where I'm like, that would never work. Like sometimes I see something like, why would he do that?
Well, Best of the Best is interesting because it's a Taekwondo one, and it kind of takes, I don't know, I guess you could say the choreography takes a certain number of liberties, though apparently Chuck Liddell loves that movie, I think.
Does he?
Yeah, that's like I think Chuck Liddell, some UFC fighter, that's like his favorite movie.
Well, to me it's really funny because like Tommy Lee and like the Koreans in that movie are all like super like legit, like I totally buy that, like all the stuff they're doing. I'm like, yeah, that's like looks like deadly stuff, and like these guys definitely know what they're doing. And all the Americans like Eric Roberts and stuff, I'm just like, I don't think that would ever work.
What's his name's brother that was in it?
Sean Penn's brother, yeah.
Chris Penn, yeah. What about him?
I mean, he basically is just like some big brute. I don't even think they really show his fight. They just show him like striking the bricks and whatever.
He seemed a little too out of shape for me for like.
I agree.
Like not that we didn't have people like that in Taekwondo. You had people that were out of shape, but you never would have had somebody that out of shape get to the national team. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
I agree.
Like because Taekwondo is like a thin man's sport. It's not like
right.
Like the ideal physique is tall, long limbed, lean. You want people with a good reach, and so a person of that that shape, it was just. And also just the conditioning. You need to be in really good condition. And I remember in that movie, I'm pretty sure that guy like kept getting tired when they were training and would like, kind of try to take a break or whatever when they were sparring. And I just don't think that sort of thing flies at the Olympic level of
yeah, I wouldn't think so.
So, but we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So we've been going on for 30 minutes, so I'll let people go. I do want to remind people, House of Paper Shadows is available in print, in PDF. I really think folks should pick it up. It's a really, really good adventure. Steve knows because Steve's been through it. In fact, I wrote this almost at Steve's request. It was like Steve told me he was going to take out the House of Paper Shadows, and I was like, okay, give me some time, give me like a month, and I'll put it together. And that's what led to the module being written. So,
yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a really good module, and it's a really creepy module. And it's not that high price, like $20, and the PDF is I think like $7.99. And if you do buy it, if you like it, let people know, because that's the biggest hurdle for us is getting word of mouth out there. So every review, every post, every just mention of us anywhere is always helpful. And so we'll be back on again. This is Blood Sport Commando, and until then, we will talk to you later.
God.